Hey, good day, everybody. I'm Steve Farrell. I'm a co-founder and the worldwide executive director of Humanities Team. I'm coming to you live from our studio here in Boulder, Colorado. As you can see on the screen, I've got a marvelous guest here today. I'll introduce her in a moment, but Dr. Jude Currivan. Jude, thank you so much for joining us.
Steve, it's wonderful. It's absolutely marvelous to be with you all and all my friends at Humanities Team. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, well, lovely to have you. And Jude's coming in, of course, from across the pond. She's where exactly do you live now, Jude?
I live in southern England, near a place some of the folks will know. Stonehenge is less than an hour away from me, and I live in the sacred landscape of Avebury, which is a sacred landscape about 5,000 plus years old. We have the largest stone circle known. So this is my heart. And so it's lovely to join you all from my heart and with my heart.
Oh boy, lovely to have you with us, with your heart and from your heart, Jude. Wow, and I didn't know that about where you live. So gosh, that sounds beautiful. Was a truly sacred place. So this is a live program here, as you can see, which means that one, we want to shout out to everybody here. So Jude Currivan and the organizations, the nonprofit and organizations that she's involved with all over the world. Big shout out to you. Thank you for being here. The Humanities Team friends out on our Facebook page and social media, our Humanities Stream Plus members who are in the green room here with us and may come on camera a little later. Shout out to you. Thanks for being here. And John Raymer and the Sign Network. So, hey, big shout out to you all. John does such incredible work and works with these fabulous life-changing organizations all over the planet. So, hey, thank you all for being here with us. Now, as a live program, we can get to your questions and comments here. So, because right here in the studio, I've got a big display that brings back a lot of the questions and comments. So, we're going to get into a very thick conversation here with lots of, in fact, it's so thick. There's a second program. The first time we've done this, Jude's coming back next Wednesday. So we can get to more of the program. You'll see there's so much to get to. This is a two-part program. So, but don't be shy. If you've got questions as we're talking, just throw them at us on social media and we can get to them here even in the first program. Okay, so our theme here today is our conscious revolution, and it's capital R, then with an apostrophe, capital E, and then volution. So revolution, evolution. We're going to get to what that play on words means here during the program. Our conscious revolution, evolution. So now let me give Jude a proper introduction. Dr. Jude Currivan is a cosmologist, planetary healer, futurist, and author with her soon-to-be released book, The Story of Gaia. It's coming out, it's available on November 1st, so we're going to talk about this brand new book, Our Story of Gaia. Jude integrates leading-edge science, consciousness research, and universal wisdom teachings to create a holistic worldview. Her work is aimed at enabling transformational and emergent resolutions to our collective planetary issues, raising awareness and empowering fundamental change and sustainable solutions to global problems. Recently added to Humanities Stream Plus is Jude's brand new course, Our Conscious Revolution, and right now it's exclusively available on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. In this program, you're going to discover incredible knowledge and skills that will put you at the forefront of our collective conscious journey. So, new book coming out, brand new 16-module masterclass. Woo! Lots to talk about here, Jude. Again, great to have you with us, and we're going to just dive in a second here, huh? In fact, let's just dive in right now. So
let's do it, Steve.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's start out with the book, which is, is very intriguing. This whole the story of Gaia. So, do you want to just talk a little bit about this book? What inspired you to bring it out? How can people order it now? Things like that.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. Well, about 20 years ago, I received a message, a download, that really guided that at some point I would write a trilogy of books aiming to serve our conscious revolution or revolution. And I wrote the first of those books called The Cosmic Hologram in hyphen formation at the Center of Creation about 5 years ago. And the titles of the books were actually given to me 20 years ago. So it's taken me quite a while to get to this point. But the cosmic hologram was bringing forward the leading edge science that was literally the scientific breakthroughs that were literally upending the old paradigm of materialism and separation. And they were showing evidence across all scales of existence and very many fields of research to show that our universe exists and evolves as a unified entity, and that, mind, consciousness aren't something we have. They're literally what we and the whole world are. So it was a much more integral perspective of the nature of reality, and of course much more meaningful and purposeful in our role as human beings in this wonderful, this journey of our universe. So the first book of the trilogy was really showing the understanding that was coming forward of a meaningfully informed universe. But the second book is going deeper to show that our universe doesn't just exist and evolve as a conscious entity. It actually embodies an innate evolutionary impulse to evolve from simplicity to complexity and ever greater levels of individual self-awareness, perception of interconnectedness. It's gone from hydrogen to humans in nearly 14 billion years. It's an extraordinary story. And it's a story of a meaningfully existing and purposefully evolving universe. And that's the second book. That's the story of Gaia, our planetary home. But of course, like all good stories, it doesn't just start with us. It goes back to all the memory that we can have. And so Gaia's story goes back to the very beginning of our universe, right through to this moment, and underpins it with a perception of not just how, but perhaps why, and why us here and now after nearly 14 billion years of that evolutionary journey.
Wow, yeah, fantastic. Does that draw you in or what? that sets the stage pretty nicely, Jude. Wow, so second book, and 20 years ago. Now, I haven't heard this story, that it was revealed to you 20 years ago. Here we are in 2022, so back in 1998, I guess, or no, 2002.
Yeah.
Right there at the
yeah.
turn of the millennia, this was revealed to you. So now, in this book, The Story of Gaia, you were taking us back there in this description, back to, people like to call this the Big Bang, but you've got another name for this, don't you, Jude?
I do, and it's not a fanciful name in the sense that we have the evidence for this. We talk about the Big Bang, but it wasn't big, and it wasn't a bang in the sense of the implied chaos of an explosion. Instead, when we go back to that first moment of space and time, 13.8 billion years ago is our best estimate at the moment. The universe began in its most minute scale, but it began in an incredibly ordered and unbelievably fine-tuned way. So rather than bang, I described it as the first moment of an ongoing big breath. And of course, to the ancient Indian sages of Vedic India, they talk about the breath of Brahman, this incredible, and that's how our universe has existed and evolved ever since, as space expanded ever since and time's flowed forward ever since within space-time. It's far more of a big breath. And to give you an idea, there's some very cool numbers in the story of Gaia that you need to sort of sit down and have a cup of tea, I think, to sort of really feel into. But a while ago, a very eminent scientist called Lee Smolin looked at, there are some very fundamental numbers that sort of shape the reality of our universe. And when Lee looked at how they are related to each other, he estimated that if they were different from what they actually are by 1 part in 1,000 trillion, our universe couldn't have even begun, let alone being able to evolve from hydrogen to planets and plants and to people. That's how special our universe is. And that's how absolutely amazingly, beautifully ordered, meaningful, purposefully ordered the big breath of our evolutionary journey has been.
Boy, and people can stand tall because they're an integral part of this. You were bringing in that this is, it's a non-dual universe that's expanding. We're all a part of that, and you can't take any part out of the whole, can you?
No, because we also know, and again, this is evidence now, that our universe actually manifests, and that's why the first book is called The Cosmic Hologram. It manifests as a cosmic hologram, literally, where all the 3D appearance of space is actually, as far as we can cosmologically tell, and we have evidence at all scales to back this up too, is projected from a 2D boundary. It doesn't mean reality is any less real. It's just the most, it's genius. It's cosmic genius as to how the appearance of our universe emerges in this way. So you're right, a hologram, every part of a hologram is integral to the whole. So the whole is in every part reflects the whole. And again, we see this in ancient wisdom, the tradition of as above, so below, within, so without. So, for thousands of years, mystics, adepts, sages have, intuited and experienced this profound oneness of all that is and seen deeply into its reality. Now, leading edge science is coming to say, yeah, this is how it is. And I think it's so empowering for us at this moment that we are realizing that we're not separate at all. We're inseparable from each other and the whole world.
Yes, we are. We are remembering, aren't we? Yeah. Beautiful. So your book one that you've been referencing, that's been out. It's book two, The Story of Gaia. This is the book, right? Available November 1st. And people can order that in bookstores, in Amazon and et cetera now. Is that right, Jude?
Yeah, sure. That would be great. It's on pre-order on Amazon. It could be pre-ordered through any good bookstores. It's out on the 1st of November in the US. It'll be out a little later in the UK and Europe and other territories and countries. But it can be pre-ordered pretty much everywhere.
Okay, The Story of Gaia, boy, and I've had a chance to read it, and oh my goodness, get ready to get on that magic carpet and go for a ride. So it's beautiful. Jude is incredibly talented, I'm sure, as most of you viewers know. And if you haven't been exposed to Jude, oh my goodness, take this opportunity, please. The book, the Masterclass, we're going to talk about the Masterclass in a little bit. Wow, I mentioned in the introduction, there's a lot of skill here: cosmologist, planetary healer, futurist. There's a lot of reals, and I'm not sure those words even do justice to Jude. There's so much that she does, that she brings together, powerfully and cohesively in her work. So we love Jude Currivan. So Jude, how did this? Another theme you bring out, which of course you're part of the Global Oneness Summit this year too. By the way, you can go to humanitiesteam.org, our nonprofit organization site. That's what the Y, humanitiesteam.org, and right at the top, birthing a new world. That's the theme of the Global Oneness Summit this year. And Jude, thank you for being a part of the summit and have been for years. And so this wisdom she brings into the summit too. Now, it's the 13th year of the Global Oneness Summit, and its purpose is this whole, you were bringing in that it's a non-dual universe. It has been, it is. That's what's unfolding, evolving. How did this whole dual thing come in? And as you know, it's quite pervasive and it's quite challenging because, many faith traditions really have got this kind of in the middle of everything.
That's true. And I think that the important thing to realize is, and I know we do, that unity is not uniformity. But the oneness, the unity of our universe differentiates itself into radical diversity. I mean, another ancient tradition, that of the Chinese tradition and the I Ching, talks about in the beginning is the one becomes the two become the three, and from the three, 10,000 things are born. And that's essentially how our universe is. But of course, because of that differentiation into fundamental principles, such as, again, in the Chinese tradition, the yin and the yang, there the one becomes two, and they resolve into a third, which is why trinities pervade across so many spiritual traditions. But from the three, from the numbering and the growing and the geometry, 10,000 things, millions of things, trillions of differentiated expressions of that oneness happen. Now, throughout the whole story, this nearly 14 billion story of Gaia and the big breath, that evolutionary story has progressed from the very, very basic, differentiation, that the first atoms of electrons and protons and neutrons, and then over hundreds of millions and billions of years, heavier elements, and then moving on eventually to sort of molecules and biological organisms and us. That complexity has always been differentiated, but never separated. But I think we get to a particular part of the story when we have individuated beings who are self-aware. And that's when that journey into a sort of a wider sense of not just not just differentiation, but perceived separation. And I'm not judging that. I think that's been part of our journey to explore who we really are. But we've sort of delved into this appearance of separation that isn't really separate, but diverse and differentiated. And we've mistaken that appearance for the reality. And spiritual traditions, not all, many religions have sort of, perpetuated this perception of somehow, a God is separate from us. That isn't the case. Everything is God. Everything is Allah. Everything is great mystery, great spirit, is cosmic mind, as Einstein called it. And we are differentiated expressions. There's a wonderful metaphors in the spiritual traditions, talking about us being droplets of the great ocean, sparks of the great flame. And so we've thought we were separate flames or separate sparks or separate droplets. But just like droplets of rain, we always fall back into the ocean and appear from the ocean. So I think we're remembering. That's what I mean by remembering. We're now remembering. So that journey took us so far, but it couldn't take us any further, because to grow up, we have to heal that apparent separation, that trauma of that separation. And I think that's what's happening now. We're literally remembering, as you said, that we're inseparable. So let's not go into the blame, but let's draw a line and a choice now to go forward and to heal all that apparent separation has caused within our collective psyche, because we can do this. And this is what, the class is about, really. How do we remember? How do we, remember we're whole? And how then do we go forward together?
Okay, beautiful. Wow, beautiful. And Desmond Tutu, of course, who transitioned recently, he had his continuation day. And he wrote, he's of course wrote many, many books, but in one of his books, he said, where is God? He said, well, look around you. There is God, just exactly what you're sharing here, Jude. Yeah, and of course, mystics, my gosh, this is, talking about ancient wisdom, this goes back to sacred text in the before Christ times, BC times. So, okay, let's go to, we've got a little clip here from the 16 module brand new masterclass that Jude Currivan created. And of course, it's called our conscious revolution, our conscious revolution, empowering our transformational journey to whole being and belonging. Let me read that one more time. This is the brand new 16 module masterclass just created by Jude Currivan, just placed in the last week on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. We're a nonprofit organization, and we're beaming it out all over the world, people, members, and to the one-for-ones that can't afford it. So it's called Our Conscious Revolution, Empowering Our Transformational Journey to Whole Being and Belonging. Okay, so let's go take a quick look at about a 2-minute clip, and then Jude and I are going to come back and talk about it.
So here we are, our conscious revolution, empowering our transformational journey to whole being and belonging. So let's start with the word our, because so much of the journey that we've been on have been, in terms of awakening, expanding our awareness, has often been on an individual and a personal basis. But we've now come to a collective moment of choice for our entire human species on this planet. What are we going to choose? Are we going to stay in the illusion of separation and fall into fear? Or are we going to come together and take a great leap, an evolutionary leap of love? And conscious, what we're aware of, we're aware of. What we're not aware of, we're not aware of. Our conscious minds process about 50 bits of information per second, whereas our subconscious mind and our autonomous nervous system processes millions of bits of information per second. So what we are aware of and what we choose to focus on really matters. As we go through this journey together, we'll see just how our thoughts, our words, our actions reverberate. We are vibrational beings. We don't have mind and consciousness. We are, and the whole world is mind and consciousness. So our consciousness, our awareness radiates in ways that often we're not aware of, or we're aware of, but we don't know how it's going to affect others. So more focus, more perception, more realization that how we think, what we say, as well as how we act really matters.
Okay, wow, beautiful. That's just a little 2-minute clip from a 16 module masterclass, brand new, created by Jude Currivan. We're so grateful to be hosting this new masterclass on our streaming platform. It's called Our Conscious Revolution, Empowering Our Transformational Journey to Whole Being and Belonging. And as you could tell now from that little clip, Jude has this beautiful talent. There's all this wisdom infused in the storytelling, which she really is taking you on, I'm calling it that magic carpet ride, where just all the way back to the beginning and kind of how this works and what our invitation is and how do we remember, and it really just can propel our conscious journey. So, and maybe when you talk about our conscious revolution, those are maybe some of the things you're getting at, huh, Jude? Probably a lot more.
Absolutely, Steve. When you invited me, I'm so grateful. I love you guys. We're such a community. I mean, Humanity's team is this amazing community that I'm just delighted to be invited and so welcomed into. But when you invited me to do the course, I attuned to what the title should be, and in the introduction, I spoke of each word in that title, because I did the revolution rather than the evolution, because I do feel this isn't a little step. This is a major leap in who we remember that we really are. It's almost like being in a dark room and switching on a light switch, and suddenly we can see all around us. And one of the modules in the 16 module class is really about naturalizing, our innate superpowers that we have, that often we don't think we have, like intuition. and much, much more. And also the naturalizing of what often's been called paranormal or supernatural phenomena, because they're not. They're supernormal. They're part of a whole, as our dear friend, because I know she's a dear friend of yours too, Elizabeth Sartoris, the evolutionary biologist, talks about, the whole piano keyboard of consciousness. We're able to access so many more notes of that whole keyboard as we open ourselves up to this choice, which is actually an invitation by the universe to consciously step into, this evolutionary journey as co-evolutionary partners with our planetary home Gaia, our beloved Gaia, and the whole universe.
Boy, beautiful. I just love your work. It's so original, the way, going back to, and I know you're giving credit to, shamanic practices and other Elizabeth Sartoris, and because there are many pioneers, in this work, and as we mentioned, even sacred texts going back to, thousands of years. But you pull it all together, synthesize it in a storytelling way that infuses so much wisdom into really our story, the story of an unfolding universe, and this critical moment, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We're now to the end of the separation story. We really couldn't go further. Now it's boom, it's liftoff time into the fullness of remembering time, where we really know who we are. And I love, even like you're saying, supernatural. No, super normal. This is what unity consciousness and oneness in the fifth dimension is, right? Where it's just, we come to understand, we take an accounting of who we are and how things work. And that's what you're bringing us into in this in this material, this course and this book of yours, right, Jude?
Absolutely, Steve. And I think the other thing to say on all of this is when we open ourselves up to the fact that the realization of the evidence as well, that our universe does exist and evolve as a unified entity, it's also multidimensional, which is, again, not just Elizabeth's point and my experiences since I was a child, but the experiences of so many folks. And again, going back thousands of years, we have this inherent ability to access non-physical realms of intelligence and sentience and guidance. One of the things that I talk about a lot and so really invite folks into is this experiential relationship with Gaia and all her children. And so, I'm talking about, her as a planetary home in her entirety. I call her Gaia sphere, and also all her children that share her Gaia sphere with us in incarnate ways, but also her discarnate sentience. Because there is such wisdom if we're prepared to open ourselves up to learn. Because we're learners. We need to go back to school in that sense. And this is Earth school. And when we learn from her as an incredible planetary mother and the whole universal wisdom that's available to us, in my experience, we're taken by the hand and invited into this grand adventure of discovery. And that is fundamental, I feel, to how our conscious revolution can serve not just ourselves, but serve Gaia, serve the whole universe.
Yes, so true. And bringing in now the discarnate elements, and viewers probably know, we a couple of months ago we launched a program called Life After Death, and the Wayne Dyer family is in it because of this extraordinary story, which actually it's super normal. It's not supernatural. Is what Jude's bringing in, where Wayne's quite active in the world today, as are, which shouldn't be so jaw-dropping, as are other discarnate wisdom beings. And then the program right after that we're just now, in fact it launches today, is called Cosmic Forces, and Suzanne Giesman, Patricia Cota-Robles, who work with these universal beings. It's called Partnering with Universal Beings. It's the free program they created to try and lift that veil, because this is part of this whole unison journey this conscious revolution journey where we need to lift the veil. We can't just go any along with sighted, embodied, carnate beings. Why would we want to do that? We're cutting ourselves off from wisdom that is just extraordinary, non-local wisdom that's extraordinary, and it's here now to guide us and support us on this journey. Huh, Jude?
Absolutely. And, you know, in 2018, just to, you know, because mainstream science, the old paradigm would say, you know, this isn't the case. But in 2018, some researchers at MIT were able to experimentally show the non-local integration of our entire universe. What they did is they were able to quantum entangle photons of light in a laboratory with starlight from 600 light years away, from light from a quasar, which is an incredibly powerful, active galactic center, 12.2 billion light years away. That light left that quasar 12.2 billion years ago, and they brought all that light into the laboratory together and showed that it was entangled. So the theory of quantum mechanics relies on a universe that's non-local, but now we have that evidence to that distance. And therefore, and when that we know, then all of these non-local phenomena that you're referring to are natural, and they're inherent to our consciousness and our way of being able to access them. So it's our heritage to be able to do this. And it's the veil is something that we've put over ourselves. And now we can take it back and see the world for what it really is.
Time to do that. And I know viewers, we've all had these experiences of the clair words, right? The claircognition, the clairvoyance, where you knew who you were to marry. You knew that job you should take. You knew you were guided, you know, financially or in many other ways. My life is full of these, and I know it is for viewers. What we've done in the past is said, well, I don't know where that came from, or, you know, I was lucky, you know, and we can say that if we want, but there's a science here. You know, this is part of what this whole unity consciousness, oneness, conscious living thing is, you know, it carnate and discarnate, you know, it's all one, here, now, available today, in this moment. So let me share now, we're going to talk a little bit about this, this new program, 16-module program, Our Conscious Revolution. We're going to just cover the two, she breaks it into 4 parts. So we're going to cover the 2 parts today, and then if you were here with us at the beginning of the program, Jude's going to come back as our guest again next week, Wednesday, same time, and we're going to go through the other 2 parts of the program next week. We'll talk a little bit about her book again next week as well. There's so much of deliciousness here, you know, in terms of things we wanted to get to, that we didn't want to create stress for ourselves trying to cover all of this in 1 hour. So we're going to cover it in 2 hours. And thank you, viewers. We have questions coming in. Thank you. We'll get to those. We'll get to your questions here too. So, and that's a good sign. So people are saying, hey, Jude, you know, they're reaching out with stuff here. We're going to get to those here in just a moment. So our Conscious Revolution, it's a 16-module program on Humanity Stream Plus. Just if you're not familiar with it, Humanity Stream's a 501c3 nonprofit. So our whole objective is not, you know, growing our revenue or our profit. We don't even care about profit. We don't care to have any profit. Our whole thing is to have a hub that can extend out into every home and translate it into every major language with hundreds of these best practices that get us to, I'll call it the mountaintop, where unity consciousness, oneness, conscious living in its fullness. Some people call it the kingdom, you know. So, but there are thousands of different paths to get to that mountaintop. Jude Currivan has a beautiful path that she's created in her book, in her class. She has 23 programs right now on this platform. If you go to the platform, there's a search feature. The reason I say 23 is I searched this morning. How many are on here? She's been part of the Global Oneness Summit and other programs we've done, in addition to the 16 video trainings that are there. So it's about $1 a day. So it's $300 $99. We've dropped the price twice to get it down there. We'll drop it more as we can. And then we're a nonprofit, so we have a one-for-one program for people. There are people that can't afford a platform like this at any price. And so when people purchase it for the $3.99, we give it free to an underserved, underprivileged individual somewhere in the world. In fact, there's one Jude just mentioned that's going to get one here shortly. So because the whole world is awakening now. We're on this 18-year journey. By 2040, we're going to make conscious living pervasive worldwide. So, and I thank you again to Jude Currivan for your many, many contributions to an awakened world as a storyteller, wisdom provider, healer, futurist, etc. Jude, somebody on our team said, we worked so closely with Barbara Marx Hubbard, who I know was a friend of yours, and her continuation day has come. She's not embodied any longer, and the person on our team said, "This is the next Barbara Marx Hubbard," launching off. So she's already huge in the world, and I think she's getting bigger and bigger by the day because of all of her wisdom. So, Jude, there are 4 parts to your class. The first part is called Embodying an Evolutionary Impulse, Our Universe, Our Planet, and Us. Can you tell us a little bit about that first quadrant in this new class that you created?
Be glad to, Steve. Before I do, I just want to pay tribute to Barbara and to the many, many others. We were talking earlier, weren't we, that we were talking about this as being the 18-year sort of final. We're in the home stretch, hopefully, or the home height to the mountain. But this has been a millennia-long journey of many, many wisdom keepers and seekers, including our Indigenous brothers and sisters who have been keeping the wisdom for us and the remembrance of inseparability, even when many of our sort of other secular societies have forgotten. So I just want to pay tribute to all those who've gone before us that still support us, on whose shoulders we stand, the giants on whose shoulders we stand. And as you mentioned with Wayne and many others, the ancestors, and I'm talking about ancestors pre-human now, I'm going back to the very beginning, the whole ancestral journey, going back to the very beginning, I feel is with us. So I just wanted to really honor that. And certainly in the course, and there is an invitation as we expand, as we lift the veil, to look around and see the incredible community of life. And I don't just mean biological life, I mean the whole life of our living universe, and the support and the companionship and the guidance we all have. So on that note, if I may, the first part is, as you say, it's embodying an evolutionary impulse, our universe, our planet, and us. So I go back to that first moment of the big breath and the incredible simplicity and fine-tuning and order, and then take that story through. Because one of the things that Einstein once said that I always adhere to, it's like my sort of way shower, one of my way showers in life, is our universe is as simple as it can be, but no simpler to undertake its evolutionary purpose. So this journey from simplicity to complexity is underpinned by incredibly simple relationships. To give you an example, what underlies a network, whether it's an ecosystem or a network of a human community or a galaxy of stars, every network has 3 fundamental attributes of its parts, and that's shape, size, and stickiness. And so whether you're a community of human beings with our sizes and the shape and how we connect together, or whether you're a galaxy with 100 billion stars, underlying all the dynamics are those fundamental simplicities. So what I've done in that first part is I've talked about this journey, this evolutionary journey, first of all on a universal scale, that went from the very beginning, 13.8 billion years ago, to the birth of our planetary system and all the wondrousness all the wonder that's embodied in that. And then the story of Gaia herself and how she's nurtured, throughout her entire sentience, this journey from sort of prebiotic molecules all the way to complex communities of cells. Each of us is a community of something like 37 trillion cells. And a lot of them aren't human. They're bacteria, they're viruses, they're fungi. We are, each of us, a community. So I tell that story. And there's one cool thing that I'd love to throw in now, because even it amazes me, right? But in our 37 trillion cells, we have DNA, yeah? Which is a sort of the genetic template. It's not the controller, it's a servant, but that DNA is wound up so tiny that it's microscopic. We can't see it with our human eyesight. But if we were to take the DNA in every cell and stretch it out, it would be as tall as you are. In our 37 trillion cells, if we stretched our DNA, it would stretch across our entire solar system. If we take the DNA in our entire human family, it would stretch 10 times the diameter of our entire Milky Way galaxy. I mean, and then we go into the evolutionary story of us, how we came to be here and now at the bow wave, literally, of our universal and Gaian evolutionary potential. As we stand here and now, as you said earlier, what our evolutionary potential is. So that's just the first part of the course.
Wow, that's just so there are 4 parts, 16 modules to this Our Conscious Revolution program, Our Conscious Revolution, Empowering Our Transformational Journey to Whole Being and Belonging. There are 4 parts, 16 modules. This was the first quarter, the first 4 parts of this program. We'll talk about the other 4 parts here in a moment. I want to get to some questions. And then next week, be sure to come back, because we're going to go to the second half of the program, part 3 and part 4. And wow, I mean, isn't this fascinating? Even I know just listening to these summaries that Jude's covering, it's fascinating. I mean, don't you want to just dive in and really understand the fullness of what we're right now? Jude's kind of flying at 50,000 feet, but the program dives in and goes down into the fullness of what this is and how this works. Why would we not want to know this while we're on this conscious journey? If you're a viewer here, of course you're on the conscious journey. And there's some beautiful storytelling infused with amazing wisdom in this class. So, all right, so here's a question here. This is from Carla. She said, I came in a few minutes late. Can you explain how you came up with such a beautiful thing as the big breath? I gasped in a good way when I read this in your latest book. Your book is definitely scientific, but somehow it's also poetic, scientific and poetic. So there we go.
Thank you. That's really kind. And I guess you're talking about the cosmic hologram. And for those folks who've read the cosmic hologram, I was guided it needed to have the science, because otherwise it wouldn't land. It could have been just poetic and it wouldn't have landed. And if it was just scientific, I don't think it would have been empowering or hopefully inspiring. So hopefully it merges the two. But I would say the story of Gaia is much easier science, because the physics is done now. The physics is sorted. The physics is in the cosmic hologram. So the story of Gaia, and Steve, you've read it. It really sort of brings you up and holds you and carries you on this incredible journey. And going to the point about the big breath, before I do that, just to say also the course, each module has an invited experience, because then we really begin to feel all of this, to experience this oneness. So every module has either an attunement, a guided visualization, and or an invited experience. So just to mention that. And one of those is an experience with the big breath in one of the modules. Why the big breath? Because if you miss the big of today, I said that our universe, we're taught that it began as a big bang, and it wasn't big, but a bang implies chaos. And it wasn't. It was beautiful, exquisitely fine-tuned and ordered. And that's much more like an out breath. And of course, as space has expanded and time has flowed ever since that first moment, it really has been an out breath, a universal out breath. And that relates to the ancient Indian perception of the out breath of Brahma too. And of course, it's ongoing. Whereas the Big Bang was deemed a one-off sort of thing. You know, our universe continues to have this incredible breath. And the Indian word for breath, prana, also means spirit. So there's a lot of layers on why I refer to it as the big breath, and that we all breathe, planets breathe, our universe breathes.
Beautiful, Jude. Gosh, you know, when I went through college, I took an astronomy course. I went to George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and with an amazing teacher. And at that time, you know, Hubble and this whole science was rolling out about what they then were calling Big Bang. And the way he expressed it, he said, now based on the latest research, what it looks like is it was a breathing out, and then it's going to be a breathing in, and then it's going to be a breathing out, and then it's going to be a breathing in. You know, so this unity with this diversity of bringing it coming back in, because this is still part of the puzzle of, is the mass sufficient to where it's going to then come back into itself, and then, you know, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. I think the latest science says that is how it works, but so beautiful. But you bring in the full, you know, a much, much fuller story here, Jude.
I have to say the latest science suggests that it's something slightly different, that instead it's more like a bubble that will come to it. It's very simple, and I do talk about it in the second part of the course, that our universe seems to have a finite cycle now. So the continuing expansion of space and the flow of time, as that happens, the temperature of our universe reduces and reduces and reduces. So there will come a point where the universe is almost like played out its cycle. But then, rather like a bubble, when it's come to the end of its time, it's almost as though our universe may just sort of burst, and all its wisdom, all its experience just goes back into that eternal, infinite, cosmic mind that we are born from, that we're a great thought of. So now, I mean, all generations take this, you know, journey onwards and take this understanding onwards. So now the perception is there wouldn't be an in-breath of our universe, but another out-breath of possibly another universe. But that is still being explored, that is still being understood. But that seems to be the best understanding we have at the moment.
Yeah, everlasting life for sure, because that is part of where everything's a part of the one, whether we want to call it cosmos or universe or God or divine, or it's everlasting life, unlimited potential. That was that whole hologram, you know, or the field is in you thing that has been reviewed. So those things can't be taken away. Yeah.
Absolutely
beautiful.
Not.
So here's another question for you, Jude. Well, first of all, so this is out on Facebook. Sharon says, what direction will your third book take? How will it expand these amazing thoughts?
Thank you, Sharon, for that. The third book, the working title is Many Voices, One Heart. And so the story of Gaia really isn't the story of us. We appear as human beings right at the end, as you know, Steve, of the story of Gaia. And the realization that perhaps as we wake up and expand our awareness, a fundamental part of our conscious revolution is that we see ourselves, we experience ourselves as Gaians. But that is the story of Gaia. The third book then is a story of us, is a story of perhaps a deeper dive into who we are as microcosmic co-creators of our universe, potentially to grow up, to step up, to consciously evolve, to be the co-evolutionary partners of Gaia. So it really is more about us, and the title is our potential through the many, many voices of each of our uniqueness to come together in the one heart that I call the universal heart. So that is where the third book that is yet to write me, Sharon. So I don't know what is going to flow through me yet, but that's the sort of sense I have.
Stay tuned. We will have Jude Currivan back when that third book comes out. Right now, we're celebrating the second book, available November 1st, so right around the corner, and you can order it now. So, and here's somebody, Lynn says, a friend of mine recommended the story of Gaia. I hesitated due to my lack of science knowledge. I was blown away by it. I felt your passion. Thank you for being, who knew bacteria were the first form of life? So this is a testimony. Now this came out of just, I was fortunate enough to get an early copy, and I think that's how this ended up in this person's hands here that's close to Humanities Team. So you got a testimony here already. And then
that's very
Jack says,
I actually, so who was that asked that? Who mentioned that?
So that was Lynn said this, Lynn, Lynne, yeah. So a friend
Thanks,
right in here on the team that was helping, with the book testimony. Once again, I'm a friend of Jude, so I got a chance to get an early copy, and wow, this book is really stunning. This is one for the libraries, so I know there are lots of books around, but boy, if you're on the conscious journey, and you wouldn't be watching this program if you weren't, you want to read this book. So I just highly, highly recommend it. And that was a recommendation from Lynn here. So now Gail is right here in the green room with us. So she's a Stream Plus member. She says, so happy you referred the word love. Feels like we have moved from the first breath to the new big sigh, is what Gail is saying here, who's in the green room with us. Jude.
I love that. Thank you for that. I often talk about this new science, this whole worldview science as a science of love, because it is, the realization of, as you said, Steve, the non-duality, the integral, the unified nature of reality. Everything isn't just interdependent and interconnected, but ultimately unified. And yet this incredibly beautiful, radical, diverse abundance. So what we're exploring now from the science perspective is the science of love. It's a sacred science, and it's a science of love.
Yeah, boy, I love that, because so often, of course it is true, interconnected, interdependent, interrelated, all of these things true, but you're bringing in what's so important. But, let's not forget it's unified with love as its basis, which is just a whole nother huge dimension of this. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the indescribable fruit really in all of this is, oh my goodness, we take that deep dive down into the love, the fullness of that love at its basis. And then, oh gosh, that's where just the fullness of the word prosperity comes in. Jude. Yeah. Okay, so
Absolutely.
Let's see now. Adele, A-U-D-E-L, says, thank you, Jude, for sharing your revised Big Bang now as the big breath. I have recently been introduced to using exhaling our own breath to expand our field of energy. This feels like a micro connection to a macro expansion. Thanks for creating clarity. So I'm just leaning forward so I can kind of read we've got a big display here where all of these comments are coming in. Caroline says, have you ever considered a children's book about Gaia? I'd love to expose my children to this knowledge.
Well, funny you should say that. Not me, because I'm not a children. I think it's a very special gift to be able to write for children. And a dear friend of mine, Victoria Friedman, is actually writing a book for 6-year-olds. Based on this, and hopefully we'll be able to share more about that soon. But what's really been coming forward over the last year, as Steve knows, is with the evidence that's in the cosmic hologram, the story of Gaia, and so much more, a number of us have come together to draft something called a unitive narrative based on this that we can sort of really underpin and frame a lot of our transformational work in the world. And so Victoria read the unitive narrative, absolutely loved it. And the first thing she said is, this has to be, for stories for children as well as everyone else. So yes, my sense is with this unitive narrative, based on this science of love and all that's coming forward, this is almost like the many voices, one heart. There are so many stories we can tell in so many voices for all ages across the world that really, because the arts are so fundamental and vital in this journey, this conscious revolution. So yes, we'd love to share all of those with everyone as soon as we can.
Coming from Victoria Friedman soon, hot off the press. So yes, this unitive narrative, boy, there's a group called Evolutionary Leaders that's a beautiful group. And Jude and I are fortunate to be a part of it. There actually are hundreds of people in this group. And it's adopted this unitive narrative. And, this is a big step where a group with this level of diversity, this many people located all over the world, is coming together around a unitive narrative. So, which is, all the things we're talking about here are what the unitive narrative is, where we talk about unity consciousness, conscious living, oneness, interrelated, interconnected, interdependent, with love at its basis. That's the unitive narrative. And where you've got a group that's this big and with so many really pretty thoughtful people, when I read this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a big step. That something like this is coming out now as a basis for the whole group. So for people that are, of course there's hand-wringing going on, climate change and smoke, and Jude is over there in the UK. We've read about this summer they've had over in London there. There's some enormous challenges, but here's the other side of it is, boy, and the press is not covering this, but wow, there are we're making big leaps. There's this pivot is happening, stretching in this whole new direction. And we've been talking about this 18-year journey to make conscious living pervasive worldwide. And it's as simple as us all just living into the fullness of what it is. It has to start with us, right? The collective is the next after us. We start with ourselves, of coming in fully to this. And that's why this book of Jude's, her class, are all about just nurturing that personal journey. And they're just huge contributions. So we only have a little time left, but the second quadrant in your book, so a whole world view, the emergent cosmology of conscious and evolutionary universe. That's the second quadrant in this class that Jude just is brought to the Humanity Stream Plus platform, available now for people. Can you talk just a little bit about that, Jude?
Yeah, delighted to, Steve. I mean, starting with the whole evolutionary story, I wanted us to just take a step then to sort of say, again, it's the unitive narrative, really. What underpins that? What frames that? Because if we can understand the simplicity of that, it helps us then move forward into, for example, why our thoughts matter, why our words matter, that, the understanding, not just we're all vibrational, but that we are all ultimately unified. And it's sharing some very, very easy level, but the evidence that can really give us, authentic trust and empowerment in this cosmology. Because what cosmology means really is it's the story of the cosmos, but it's the story of a conscious cosmos. And so we've talked about the evolutionary aspect of our universe and our planet and us. This now talks about the consciousness, the innate consciousness. I mentioned earlier, we're talking about, mind and consciousness isn't what we have, it's what we are. This is the science of that consciousness, which is love in action.
Beautiful. Wow, the science of love in action. Now, I mean, we want to take a deep dive into that, don't we? Absolutely. I'm looking forward with my wife. All of us in Humanities team will be going through this as a cohort, this new program that Jude has just created just in the last week, placed on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. We are so delighted to be partners with her in this. And stay tuned. There's more coming, from Jude. We're not going to pre-announce anything here, but we're working with Jude on some other really pretty exciting things too. We'll come back here in the future to talk about those things. So, well, I just want to thank you. We're at the top of the hour. Jude, I want to thank you so much for coming in live from over in the UK, across the pond. We're grateful to have you with us. She's back with us next week. Be sure to come back, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. We're going to come back for part 2 with Jude Currivan to talk about her brand new book launching November 1st, her brand new 16-module program. So much deliciousness here that we needed to do a second hour, and thank you for that too, Jude. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone. It's been my wholehearted joy, and I can't wait for us to be together again next week.
Yes, me too. And I want to we're going to pull the camera back. This is a live program. Somebody's got to have a lot of courage, to sit here. There we are, we're in the studio. I'm here on the couch with the blue shirt. That's Jim Gray over there. He's the guy with courage to bring a live program like this together where we bring people on live with us. We're playing videos. So thank you, Jim Gray. Karen Gordon leads the writing team. Andy Guski also is she writes a lot of the copy. Dee Meyer, Garth Catterall, Timothy Noah. So these are some of my partners and colleagues. You actually need a fair number of people to pull together something like this, to market it, and then have the technology to do something like this. So big thank you to all of them. And last and definitely not least, thank you to you all, the viewers, for being here with us for the hour. Really appreciate it. Thank you. We're here to support you on your conscious journey, and we're back with you next week. So love and peace and blessings, you all. See you Wednesday next week. Take care.